Welcome back to the Coaching Revolution podcast. We are moving here at the podcast into what I call coursework season. And what that means is that for the next few episodes, we're going to be looking at how to create and lead phenomenal groups, whether those groups are workshops, courses, programs, masterminds, retreats, ceremonies, etc. We're going to be looking at how to make your groups life-changing for your participants and also for yourself. I know a lot of you who listen to this podcast and are part of the Applied Depth community are leading groups or you want to lead groups in the future. And of course, leading groups, workshops, programs, masterminds, etc., is such a great way to make impact, to share your expertise, and to grow your business. So for all those reasons, I am really excited to be bringing this topic to the podcast. And today's specific podcast relates to all of this. It is 5 distinctions between good courses and life-changing courses. Now, I've been leading retreats and workshops and masterminds and courses for the last 22 years. And if there's one thing that I've learned about creating and leading courses, it's this. When you create and then facilitate what I call a life-changing course, the type of course that is so dynamic, so transformational, and that goes very deep, not only do you help change the lives of those you serve, but your life changes as well. You know that you're making incredible impact in the world. You know that you're on purpose, doing the thing that you're meant to be doing in the world. And when you create and facilitate that life-changing course, your confidence as a leader and facilitator skyrockets. And that's because you see how your course participants are thriving, and you're very likely to receive lots of testimonials from glowing fans who rave about you and your work. Creating and leading a life-changing course allows you to stand out and co-create incredible results that lead to more clients completing your programs and more clients raving about your programs. Now, I think we all know that there is no shortage of courses to buy in the coaching and transformational industries. And if we're being honest, a lot of those courses are okay. Maybe they're even good, but they're not life-changing. They don't co-create excellent results with participants. They don't create an experience that participants are going to remember for years and years to come. For so many courses that are being offered out there, even if participants feel excited during class time or are showing up, they're not likely to fully follow through with the content for true long-lasting results. And in these kinds of courses, your content sounds and feels like everyone else's. You could be mistaken for any one of thousands of coaches or teachers in the industry. But a life-changing course literally has the power to motivate your audience to results that leave them amazed and so grateful. It also helps you stand out as a magic maker from the sea of teachers that are selling courses. So for all of these reasons, I want to share today 5 distinctions. And, when I train course facilitators, we look at many distinctions and we go really deep into these. But I want to share today about 5 distinctions between good courses and life-changing courses. So here's the first one. Be a facilitator and not a presenter. Presenters present content. They share facts. Courses, whether they're live or whether they're home studies, should be so much more than mere presenting and sharing information. Because presenting and just sharing information isn't actually the way that human beings learn best. For one thing, at this point in time, pretty much any kind of content can be found online. You just need to Google it, right? You don't need to take a course for content. For another thing, study after study has shown that the way that both children and adults learn best is through engagement, through being able to take information and answer questions about that information, or discuss it, or do self-inquiry around it, or move through an experiential exercise related to it, etc., etc. So when you start to bring different aspects of engagement into your courses, this is when your participants get the opportunity to not only hear new information, but to integrate it, to make it their own, and ultimately to embody the new information. And when information or insights or breakthroughs are embodied, that's when your participants have the absolute best chance of taking action on it and making change in their lives. When you start to make the shift from presenting information to helping your participants integrate and embody the information, that's when you start to move from presenter to facilitator. And when you move from presenter to facilitator, you're on your way to becoming a transformational leader. Being a facilitator and transformational leader versus being a presenter means not only that you value process as much as you value content, but also that you know exactly how to hold the space and the container for the group. That you know exactly how to set up the container and the group so that people feel welcome from the get-go and are ready to learn and go deep from the get-go. It also means that you know how to interact with the group and respond to the needs of the individuals taking your course. Okay, so that's the first very important distinction between a good course and a life-changing course. Be a facilitator versus being a presenter. Let's look at a second distinction. Less versus more. Good courses have more. Life-changing courses actually have less. Let me explain what I mean by this. And this distinction is actually a very natural outgrowth of the first distinction of being a presenter versus being a facilitator. Because when you present versus facilitating, you may be tempted to stuff the time with more and more and more content. And stuffing a ton of information into your course is a very, very common mistake. It's one that actually caught me when I first started leading programs myself. And I have seen a lot of course creators and leaders make this mistake of stuffing too much information in. I once had a client who was leading her very first workshop. She was incredibly nervous and she wanted to give as much value as she could in the 2 hours of that workshop. So she piled in a ton of information, speaking a mile a minute and leaving very little room for sharing or for processing. Well, her participants were pretty wiped out by the end of those 2 hours, and they didn't have much to say in terms of what they received from the workshop. My client felt like she had failed and that the participants wouldn't want to come back next time. And this was when she decided to come to me for support because she realized that she needed to up her game with leading her groups. And the moment that she shared her curriculum with me, I was able to see right away and share with her that less content is actually more. Less is more, and it is better if you want participants to really learn. As facilitators and course leaders, we oftentimes think that we need to stuff our presentations or our retreats or our workshops with tons of material. And we usually think this way because we want to be deeply of service. We really want to provide a lot of value. Sometimes we think we need to stuff our courses with tons of material also because we worry that we're not good enough. And it feels like maybe if we can put more and more and more content in, then we'll compensate for feeling not good enough. We'll look like we are good enough and we are valuable. But the truth really is that less is more. It's much more effective and yields much more learning and transformation to pick fewer things to teach on, fewer topics, fewer learning points, but to give each topic enough time and space around it to go really deep and to create inquiry around it and discussion around it. If you don't do this, if you don't give your topics space, then your material is going to most likely just stay on the surface. And your participants won't get the full power and reverberations of your content. They likely won't feel committed to applying it to their lives once they leave the workshop room. So when I go to create curriculum for a course, a retreat, a workshop, whatever it is, here's a little bit of what I do. I write down all the content that I want to share, right? I kind of just like dump it out into a first draft of the curriculum. I let it be more and more and more and more. And then I let it sit for a few days. And then what I do, and this is a crucial part of my curriculum creation process, is I edit out. I take away and I take away and I take away. I whittle it down to the most important pieces. I create less, not more. And then what I do is I take those pieces and I make them as layered and deep and meaningful as possible with exercises, with different experiences, with different ways for people to go deep rather than wide. Now, just so you know, I don't discard all of the gems that I take out of the original curriculum. I just save them either for other programs or for bonuses. Sometimes it is actually much more valuable to take a piece of content out of a program proper and add it as a bonus to that program. It's great for marketing purposes as well to have some bonuses. And, if you've been looking at my courses and my trainings, I'm really generous, not just with the courses and the trainings themselves and everything that you receive, but with the bonuses. The other thing about the less is more is this: the more you become skilled at less is more, the more that your participants are going to feel like they received more from your course than any other thing out there. So, even though I create so much space around each of the topics when I teach them, my course participants tell me that they feel like they have gotten more content from me than anywhere else. And it's kind of true. It is true. But the difference is that they're processing it deeply, they're embodying it. All right, so let's move on to our third distinction today between a good course and a life-changing course. And this distinction is important not only for helping your students and participants really learn and transform and take action, but this distinction is also crucial for marketing and filling your program. And here it is: make things specific versus making them general. Make things specific versus making them general. So I see way too many teachers, coaches, leaders out there sharing topics that are too general. And when you share things that are too general, you're actually not truly getting to the heart of your expertise. It's like you're in the right ballpark, but you haven't yet really honed in on your exact brilliance and your exact thought leadership, and where you have new ideas and new information and content to contribute to your field. When you stay too general in your courses and your curriculum, a couple of things can happen. Number one, you don't get to contribute what you're really meant to contribute. You don't fulfill your sacred mission when you're being too general because you're not speaking to the detail of your expertise. When you stay too general instead of getting specific, also, you don't get that soul satisfaction from really speaking to the topic of your heart, right? Of your passion. Your curriculum doesn't end up hitting the exact sweet spot that your ideal clients need to create the changes and results that they want to change in their lives. And also, when you stay too general instead of getting specific, you end up sounding too much like everyone else in your industry. Nothing about your course is going to stand out when you stay general. So, let me give you an example of this. You don't want, for example, the topic of your course or your curriculum to be self-care, or even for it to be self-care for women. These topics are too general. They're not specific enough for your ideal client to really hook onto. They're not activating enough for your ideal client to make the specific changes in their lives that are right for them. And it's not a strong enough platform for you to be able to really get into the depth of your thought leadership. So instead of self-care, maybe your curriculum is about self-care and emotional well-being for busy moms of special needs children. Now, this was actually The exact shift that one of my students made through the work that we did together on their curriculum. And their course went from barely attracting folks to having moms of special need kids flocking in. It also helped my client start to become the go-to person in the special needs community for moms that were looking to take better care of themselves. So, by shifting the scope of her program from general to very specific, it improved my client's marketing for the program. It made her marketing much more effective. Moms of special needs children felt that the program was speaking specifically to them, that it was tailored just for them. And on top of improving the marketing, whoa, was her program and curriculum then able to go so much deeper? Because with this more specific topic, she could really address the specific needs of her students. And of course, that activated so much more vulnerability in the class, so much more learning, so much more real progress. It was so, so needed. The testimonials that my client got after leading that program were through the roof. And the moms in the program told their friends about it. So, again, I cannot emphasize enough, go specific instead of going general. It will help your client experience and it will also help your marketing. All right, next distinction, distinction number 4 between a good course and a life-changing course is as follows. Focus on the community versus focus on the leader. Focus on the community versus focus on the leader. So oftentimes, course leaders or facilitators mistakenly believe that being a leader means that all of the learning, all of the inspiration, and the transformation in the group should be generated from them, from the leader. That it's all about them and how they show up and what they share and what they say. Well, if you want to lead a life-changing course, this couldn't be farther from the truth. And in fact, courses, workshops, circles, retreats that are focused on the leader and only on what the leader has to say, or only on the relationship of each individual in the group with the leader, well, these courses tend to not be nearly as powerful or effective as courses that focus on the community, on the wisdom of the group, and on the relationships that are created between peers inside of the group. The power and the energy of the group and the community is as impactful, if not more impactful, than the leader of the group. I want to say that again because it's a writer downer. The power and energy of the group and community is as impactful, if not more impactful, than the leader of the group. This is one of the benefits of a group program, right? Is the group and the community. And what I love about all of this is the more good news on this is that we as facilitators and leaders, then we get some pressure off of us. It means that we don't have to do all the work, that we don't have to feel like it's all on us. That we don't have to carry the entire group on our shoulders because that's exhausting. When you know how to create a solid group and a solid community, that does so much of the work for you. So, what all of this means is that you want to get really masterful at creating community, both in terms of your program design as well as in terms of how you facilitate the group. And that's because a strong community creates love that is healing and transformative inside of the group. A strong community also creates bonding. It creates more engagement and productive sharing. It creates ownership so that people feel like they're not a spectator in the group, but they're a member. When you've got a strong community, people learn from each other in different ways. So, of course, community is going to look different depending on what kind of program you're leading, right? Depending, it's going to look different if it's a one-time 2-hour workshop versus a 6-week program versus a year-long program. Community is going to look a little bit different if it's virtual versus whether it's in person. But no matter what, every single course, every single workshop, every single retreat has the potential to create community, whether it's just for the day or whether it's for the year. And I am really proud to say that many of my courses create some lifetime communities, communities that go on well after the course is done. I am also really proud to say that people tell me all the time that I attract the most incredible people to my programs. They ask me, they say, Joanna, how is it that you get the most incredible people to your programs? And the answer is yes, I do. I do attract incredible people, the best people, but it's also that because I know how to create community, that brings out the amazingness and the incredibleness of each person in the group. Because the community that we create is so strong, it brings everybody's best self out. That also has to do with my facilitation skills. Now, there's one other thing right now that I want to toss to you about this idea of community. It's an obvious piece, but it's often overlooked by leaders and facilitators, and it is vital to the success of any group that you're leading. Here it is. The more that people feel like they belong, then the more engaged and invested they're going to be. This doesn't only go for group work, for retreats, conferences, workshops, etc. This idea of the importance of belonging goes for team working in an office. It goes for religious communities. It goes for students in a high school classroom. It goes for political movements. It goes for members in a family. This idea of belonging is so crucial and fundamental and needs to be leveraged by course leaders. When we can help our members of our courses, of our groups, feel like they belong, then everything in the course becomes even more transformational. All right, I've got one more distinction for you today. It's our fifth distinction between a good course and a life-changing course. And it is activate all 4 levels of learning versus only the cognitive level. of learning. So, what most course facilitators get right is they activate what I call the cognitive level of learning and processing. And the cognitive level of learning and processing is when our clients or our group members intellectually perceive new ideas or have new awarenesses or create new visions, etc. Right? And this is important because in order for a human being to change or grow or make progress towards a goal, they usually need to cognitively or intellectually understand the goal, the action steps, the blocks to the goal, etc. So, activating the cognitive level is very, very important. That being said, most courses only activate the cognitive level. They don't go further. And when you don't go further, you're actually not giving your students and your course participants the full tools, opportunities, and experience that they need to go deep with the content that you're sharing cognitively, right? So that they can do the integration, the embodiment, and the implementation so that they can receive results in your course. So you want to go deeper than the cognitive level. You want to also activate what I call the heart level of learning and processing. And that is when you use certain exercises so that your clients can connect in with their emotions to help inform what they're learning. Activating the heart level of learning and processing is also about holding masterful space for clients in appropriate moments to feel into emotions that might be coming up, right? Emotions like anger, grief, joy, jealousy, love, and more. We want to help our clients and our students at times activate their heart level of learning and processing because when we learn new information on the cognitive level, if our heart is involved, if there is an emotional connection, we're much more likely to remember it and we're much more likely to take action on what we need to take action on. We also, in our courses, want to activate what I call the spirit level of learning and processing. So, this is when we have exercises that support our clients to connect what they're learning or seeing, or the breakthroughs that they're having, or the new ideas that they're having, that it helps them connect this to something that is bigger than their ego alone. So this can be about connecting into spirit or higher power or higher wisdom or earth energy or the ancestors or even a celebrity that your students admire, right? And it's about connecting into that higher wisdom, getting higher wisdom about what they're learning cognitively from it. When you support your client, your students to connect in with and activate the spirit level of learning and processing, it's what helps them tap into their deepest wisdom and also cultivate trust and faith in the topic that you're exploring together and discussing together and strategizing on. So, again, we want to go beyond the cognitive to sometimes activating the heart level, sometimes activating the spirit level. and then also sometimes activating the body or the somatic level. We want in our courses to help people learn also, not just through their minds, not just through their hearts, not just through the spirit, but also through their bodies. We want to help our people make memories in their bodies, memories of new ideas, of inspiration, of confidence, of excitement, of how a new idea feels. We want to do some work to also help clients work through fears, right? And part of that is on the somatic level. Okay, in the spirit of less is more and not stuffing any one podcast episode with too much, I'm going to stop with the distinctions there because I want you to chew on each of these five distinctions. Each one of them is so, so important and vital. So, as a review, number one, be a facilitator, not a presenter. Number two, less versus more. Number three, make things specific versus general. Number four, focus on the community versus focus on the leader. And then number five, activate all four levels of learning, not only the cognitive level. I can't wait to see what evolves for you and your courses and your ability to go deep based on these five distinctions. And of course, we just skimmed the surface today, not only on these five distinctions, but on this topic of being able to create and lead phenomenal groups. And I want to let you know that one of the reasons over the next couple weeks and months that we're focusing here on coursework in the podcast is because starting this week, there is a short early bird sale on one of my most favorite trainings that's called Life Changing Courses. So, the life changing courses training gives you everything that you need to create a course curriculum that shines, to create a course curriculum that is highly effective for your participants and that showcases your expertise and your thought leadership. And even if you don't yet know what your thought leadership is, you will uncover it in life changing courses. The life changing courses training also teaches you how to develop somatic and transformational exercises that activate all four levels of learning and processing, and exercises that fit beautifully with your curriculum and your content points. In the life changing courses training, you also learn everything that you need to know about how to facilitate groups so that your students stay engaged, so that real community gets created, so that participants share and are vulnerable, and so that you create an experience through your course or your retreat that your participants remember for a lifetime. The life changing courses training isn't just let's take some notes training. You create your curriculum in real time during our 11 weeks together. And throughout those entire 11 weeks, I make myself available to you throughout so that I read your curriculum at any stage of the game that you want me to. And multiple times I will read your curriculum and give you detailed suggestions and feedback. And if you're wondering, Where can I get support on how to market and fill my course? We also have that covered in the life-changing courses training. The entire training, it's like nothing else out there. It is the sum of my 23 plus years of experience of creating and leading transformational experiences for groups. You also do your own deep work and shadow work so that you can become more and more of the leader that you want to be. For the next few weeks, Life Changing Courses is available for almost 30% off the full rate. It's really a steal for everything that you receive. I will drop the link in the show notes. And as always, if you want to get in touch about anything, please do. Me and my team would be so happy, just thrilled to have a conversation with you about it. And as always, if you got value from the podcast, please leave a review and let everyone know what you loved. And please share this with a friend who is leading courses or wants to lead courses. Maybe this is the exact information that they need. So until next time, I'm sending you lots of love.